Since I started taking culinary courses, I've realized that the traditional recipes are kind of lacking. They don't use the modernist techniques used by professional chefs. And today, we're going to take apart one of my favorites, kimchi fried rice, and make it better. Here's how. Most fried rice recipes that you see on YouTube get really fancy with the meat and veggie parts. There's lots of exotic and amazing ingredients, and that's great. But they're ignoring the most important part, namely the rice. They all cook rice the same way, either steamed or boiled, and there's not a lot of innovation. We're going to cook kimchi fried rice and focus on the key ingredient, which is the rice. First, we're going to cook the rice with a special sauce that I call Kimchi Stock. You'll see what I mean when we do the cooking demo. And we're going to add aromatics and herbs for added flavor. Second, we're going to think like a chef and get rid of some leftover ground meat. Yeah, I had some tasty ground meat for an Italian dish and thought, hey, let's throw that in there. That's what I mean by think like a chef. You use the ingredients to create a recipe rather than letting the recipe tell you what to buy. And as an added bonus, I'm going to show you the best way to brown ground meat for amazing flavor. Ground meat is actually hard to sear properly because it loses so much moisture in the pan. I'll show you a method that solves that problem. So let's take a quick look at our ingredients and let's get started. We're going to take a half cup of kimchi and put it into the blender cup. So let's turn on the scale because I want to give the measurements in grams so that it's very precise. And we are going to zero out the scale. And I'm going to put about half a cup. Let me see if I got the, yeah, there we go. A half a cup of kimchi into the blender cup. Let me see if I can, okay. That's about 95 grams of kimchi. And let's call that, well, it's a little bit more than half a cup, but that's good enough. So the next step is I'm going to pour the kimchi juice. And that's going to fill up the container by about 1 cup. You can try this recipe and adjust it to your flavor because what you're doing is you're adding more kimchi and more kimchi jus, if you will, to adjust for the spiciness of the taste, okay? So let me take a quick look. It's almost a cup. Now we're going to enhance the flavor of the kimchi stock with some additional spices. And one of my favorite is smoked paprika. So I'm going to add just half a tablespoon. Okay. I'm going to temper the spicy taste with a little bit of ground cinnamon. Again, half a teaspoon or less, depending on your taste. Ground nutmeg, which is about half a teaspoon. Okay. Now we are ready to blend this and make the kimchi stock. Altogether, it comes to 106 grams of ingredients. So one additional step that you can do prior to putting the kimchi into the cup is that you might want to chop it into small slices. I did that previously. This time I didn't do it, but it should be fine. So let's take a look. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start blending. You're making a puree of the ingredients and that's the consistency that you're seeking. So after I'm done blending, I'll give you a closer look. Okay. Just also, another thing that you might want to do is to add some chopped Italian parsley. It gives a nice kind of herbal, fresh taste to the kimchi stock. And you can also add this directly to the rice cooker when we get to that stage. But I'm gonna add some here. Let me give you a look at the appearance. So, here we go. I'm not sure if you can see that clearly. Hope that's in focus. But basically, you're taking the kimchi juice, the kimchi, all the spices, and the fresh cut herbs and turning it into a puree. And this is the consistency that you want, okay? Now, we're gonna move on to the next stage. I've gone ahead and washed the excess starch away. Now, typically with white rice, you use a 1-to-1 ratio, which is 1 cup of liquid to 1 cup of rice, etc. And I typically go with 1 cup because that is a single portion for me. So, like I said, we're gonna cook the rice in the kimchi stock because that's really the key to this recipe right here. And then we're gonna put the rest of the Italian parsley to help enhance the flavor once again. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour it in. Now the ratio of water to white rice in this recipe is very important because we have extra kimchi in here, which took up some of the volume. So what you really want is about 1.5 cups if you were to measure it in this cup. So I've gone ahead and put in 1/2 cup of purified water in here so that the ratios actually work out. And now let me go ahead and put in the Italian parsley, which is really fresh. I bought it today, so I can't wait to test it. Okay, and now I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the rice cooker. Okay, so let me shake it a little bit so you guys can see, hopefully the water level. It's really not that high. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the rice cooker and let it go, and then we'll move on to preparing the ground meat. Here's the secret to browning ground beef in the pan, okay? The secret is to use baking soda. So the question is, why does that work? Why does baking soda help to brown the meat? Well, it's because baking soda raises the pH balance, right? And what that means is a pH balance allows the meat to hold more water, right? And so the outside surface of the meat will be drier and the inside will be more tender. In addition, a higher pH balance means that the Maillard reaction can happen faster. Now, I just made a previous video about how to sear a steak that talked about the Maillard reaction, so you may want to refer to that. But the two effects of retaining more moisture and allowing the Maillard reaction to happen faster, they both add up to really great flavor. Let's put in 100 grams of ground beef, more or less according to your taste. Adjust the recipe to what you like. 120. You know what? I'm a big meat eater, so that's fine for me. Now, the thing is, basically, what you want to do is put, for let's say 100 grams of meat, you'll want to put in, I'm gonna go for, half a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more. So go ahead and put that in, and maybe a little bit more, okay? And you'll want to mix this thoroughly. I'm not gonna show you that part, but basically you're gonna use your fingers to, make sure all the baking soda is mixed in with the meat. You can also add seasoning or other spices or whatnot that you want. Let me talk to you about the rice that's actually done cooking. And I'm going to focus it right here. Because of the fact that we cooked it in the kimchi stock with that particular ratio of liquid to rice, what you can see is that the browning effect has already taken place. It's already there. So I'm not gonna cook this in the pan, Basically, I'm gonna cook the other ingredients and mix it in. If you still want to, you can go ahead and cook it, like traditional fried rice. But like I said, we're modernizing things, and one of the advantages of this recipe is that basically it actually happens in the rice cooker. So there it is. Took a taste of that, and right now the temperature of the pan is about 430, which is very high. It's a little bit higher than I typically go, but there it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and start cooking the ground beef and start the browning process, right? And then I'm gonna go ahead and cook it with the broccolini, put in the garlic, all the other, you know, all the other stuff. And we'll come back when it's all done, okay? So we're about 5 minutes into the cooking process, and you can see that the browning has already started to take place. The Maillard process is happening. Broccolini. I have the broccolini sliced very thinly so that it will cook fast. You may notice that I haven't added the garlic in yet, and that's because I don't want the garlic to burn, right? Burnt garlic does not taste good, so I'm keeping that separate. But now I think is actually a good time to go ahead and put that in there. And if the pan gets a little bit dry, it's fine. Feel free to add a little bit more oil. This time I'm using olive oil, so I'm gonna add that in a little bit. Smells really, really good. And as you can see, you know, the ground beef is searing very nicely. It's looking very brown. I'm gonna go ahead and put in my spring onions. Not a lot of other ingredients in this particular dish that I'm cooking right now. Of course, you can put in whatever you like. And you know what? I think I will go ahead and put in the rice just for a quick heating up, because it's been sitting on the side for a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in there. This is more for heating up the rice as opposed to actually cooking it, because like I said, the browning effect has already taken place because of the kimchi stock, and it's already really tasty. Believe me, I tried it out. Tastes great. Would you look at that? It's already done that fast. Total cook time was what? I'm really guessing maybe 10 minutes. I've added some Chinese pork belly that I cooked sous vide overnight. I think I'll show you how to do this in the next video. The point of the recipe is that we've added all our flavoring with the rice, not the typical ingredients that you fry in the pan, and that's what makes it so moist and flavorful. And so let me just take a quick bite here. Just to, and the garlic and the veggies are cooked just right. They're moist, but still crisp. Wow, that is really good. Honestly, that's one of the best kimchi fried rice I've ever had. It's usually not the case when I'm doing a demo because I get distracted, but this one turned out really well. So there you go. Try it out at home, and I think you'll like it.